Hello, everybody. My name is Mr. Ediger, and today we are going to be talking about literary analysis, how to do it, and what it is. So, what is literary analysis? Well, it's an argument about the work that expresses the writer's personal perspective, interpretation, judgment, or evaluation of the work. So basically, how a piece of work may make you feel, any feelings that are sparked up from a story, or any lessons you find within a story could call for a literary analysis. So here I have the literary elements radial. I really like this because it really lays out everything that could go into a literary analysis. The first being the point of view, the point of view at which the story is being told could be first person, second person, or third person. A first person story may be a little more personal and may have a deeper meaning. A third person, it's going to be told from an outside source, and you see it a lot on movies. And then second person, of course, is just like this, me talking to you all. Next down here, we got the plot. So the story itself, without any of the deeper meanings or allegories or symbols, the story itself will tell you a lot about the writer's insight and his personal values, or whatever message may be trying to be conveyed throughout the story. Another literary element when doing a literary analysis are the characters within the story. So the characters in the story are a big deal, because when we have characters that are mean or, very rotten, the story could have a deeper, kind of more negative theme, as opposed to a protagonist that they follow in a story where he's very upbeat, he's a hero. That makes for a much happier story and a much more positive theme to the story. You have to really consider the characterization that is being done by the author of the work when you're looking at that literary element. Right down here, we have the setting. And this is actually my favorite literary element to talk about, because I think that in stories, people will often overlook the setting at which the story takes place because they think it's just in the background, where in reality, that's where we miss a lot of the story. So when when the setting of a story is, deep in the woods and it's dark, and it makes for a really good horror story, or when it's like a, good versus evil story, we'll see that typically take place in a city with a protagonist and he's fighting crime or something like that. But the setting in a story really sets up the plot itself, and it's something to consider when you're doing a literary analysis, because authors will oftentimes sneak in an allegory into that setting to try and convey a hidden meaning. Right down here is the genre of the story. So what audience the story is speaking to, whether it be like a more gothic audience, or one for athletes or students, or whatever it may be. And then right up here is cultural lessons. So things that are things within the story that express cultures. So in stories from the South, you'll see a lot of talk about the food they eat, kind of how different it may be from around where we are in Lewiston. And I think that authors will throw that in sometimes to really set up the setting and set up the plot, and really transport the reader into the story so that they can better understand what the story is about and what themes may be from the story. So right now I'm going to go through some of the more commonly used literary devices by authors. So first, first I'm going to talk about metaphors. So a metaphor directly refers to one thing by mentioning another. So for example, one metaphor that we commonly hear is life is a highway. Now, life is being referred to by mentioning the highway, and it's a metaphor because a highway's long, you don't really know when it's going to be over, you don't know when you're getting off at your next exit, like you don't know what the destination is, you're just going. And that's kind of how life is. So next we got an allegory, and an allegory is a narrative or visual that is interpreted to have a hidden meaning. So for example, you could use the allegory of a sinking boat to represent a failing marriage, because if you don't plug the leaks and plug the holes in the boat, eventually you're going to sink. So this is an example of an allegory that we commonly see. Personification is when we give inanimate objects or abstractions human characteristics. So, for example, right now I'm in Springfield, Oregon. The sun is smiling down at us. It's really nice. You think the sun is smiling, the sun is shining. When somebody smiles, they're shining. And the sun itself is not smiling down on us, but it feels that way because of how warm it is outside. So, symbolism, this is my favorite literary device to dive into, is a mark, sign, or word that represents an idea, object, or relationship within the story. So, for example, when we see somebody wearing all black, we think of them as very mysterious, dark, a little eerie at times. When we see somebody wearing a lot of colors and a lot of different kind of brighter colors, we think of them as more bright, friendly, and that sort of thing. Like when you think of green, you think of trees, you think of nature. When you think of blue, you think of water, you think of maybe sad, depending on who you are. But that's just kind of, in symbolism, doesn't have to pertain to just colors. It could be really anything within the story. So now I'd like to go over how we see literary devices used in common media. And first, I would like to show you guys how it is used in songs. So here I have a little lyric from a 50 Cent song. And it says, "When I rhyme, something special happen every time. I'm the greatest, something like Ali in his prime." So 50 Cent is using a simile in this line, and he's comparing Muhammad Ali to himself, because Muhammad Ali was one of the best boxers of all time, and he was a very feared man. And 50 Cent is trying to portray himself in this song kind of like Muhammad Ali, hence the use of the simile. And then we see it again in a country song by Hank Williams, and he says, used to be I had a lot of fun in this old hangout, and these flashing lights sure make me dizzy, and this disco's very strange to my ear. It looks like they've turned the Longhorn into a spaceship, and I'll be leaving just as soon as I finish this beer. So Hank is using a metaphor here, and he's referring to the dinosaur. He's referring to the dinosaur to refer to himself, because he feels that he has grown old, and he feels all these young people that are within this hometown bar of his are making him feel like a dinosaur, like he's ancient. And then you see another literary device used in Aladdin. When Aladdin says, "Tell me, princess, now when did you last let your heart decide?" So that line uses a lot of personification, because hearts don't make decisions, we do. So, but by giving the heart human characteristics of making decisions, the authors of the story are using personification to kind of accelerate the story a little more. So when writing a literary analysis, You have to consider the language, consider the structure. You have to take all things into consideration, and you have to find the literary devices within the text to make sure that your literary analysis is on point. Thank you guys for listening.